I'm Tash.
And I'm Damo.
And together, we are so happy to bring you another episode of the
Bari Chronicles. I nearly forgot to say it.
I know, you did.
Oops.
Anyway, this week, we thought that we would talk to you a little bit about the liquid phase. The liquid phase was not my favourite. It was not Damo's favourite either. It was not a great time for me personally. I was going through the whole.
I think one of the hard things for me, I'd done like 2 weeks of pre-op.
Yeah.
Have surgery, and I'd actually stopped having my shakes a couple of days before because I was just vomiting every time I had it.
And burning ring of fire.
Yes. And I thought, bring on the surgery, then I don't have to have anything. Not sort of thinking ahead, going, then I have to spend like 3 weeks on basically fluids. And it was even worse than pre-op for me.
Yeah, I was just not a fan, and I don't really know what I was expecting, but how it was not it. I thought that I was magically going to just feel okay, and I did not. And I found it difficult. So when I was in hospital, I was presented with this wonderful spread of liquids that weren't really very liquidy.
It's like I can have a 3-course drink.
Yes, a 3-course drink. You could have jelly. You could have broth. You could have something masquerading as a smoothie. I'm still not sure what that was. But and then, of course, on my tray, there was also a little ice cream. And me being me, I went straight for that. And
having the ice cream.
And that was when I experienced my very first episode of dumping. Now, I'm not saying that everybody will have that. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But that's what was on my tray in the hospital.
And if you're thinking that, broth isn't really that bad, we're more talking, sort of unsalted dishwater.
Unsalted clear broth. So
and the jelly is definitely a diet jelly.
Yeah, it's diet jelly and all of those things. So it's a little bit, wow.
Is this my wife?
Yeah. But it will be okay, I promise. I promise. It does improve. It just takes a little bit.
I think that's the point that I sort of came to, was that it's a definite amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's just the steps that we have to take to get through it, to get to the next phase.
Yep, absolutely.
It's going to finish.
It will pass. It might feel
like shitting razor blades.
Yeah.
But it will pass.
It might feel challenging at the time. And you know what? Some people just absolutely smash through the liquid phase and they don't have any difficulties at all. That wasn't.
Good luck to you.
Good on you.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yes, may they. That was not my experience. I went full on into just food withdrawals. Even though I'd been doing pre-op, I still went hard into those food withdrawals, because during pre-op, I had those 2 cups of vegetables a day, and you better believe that I was eating every last skerrick of those 2 cups of vegetables. I was packing as much into that cup as I could. I was having cauliflower rice and doing all those kinds of things. So I didn't mind the pre-op part, except for the shakes. I didn't particularly enjoy that. But then when it came to just having the liquids, a challenge.
I wish that they could make cauliflower taste like chocolate brownie.
Yeah, chocolate brownie would have been great. So once I got home from hospital, the things that I actually used were coffee, cups of tea. I found cups of tea were really calming and soothing. on my tummy. Back then, so we're talking 5 years ago, back then, it was right before tasteless protein came out. And so there were a lot of whey-based proteins and things. And I had always experienced a fair bit of bloating and things from whey. So I wasn't really loving it. And I used a few different
tip though, if you want to use whey, skim milk powder.
Yeah.
Is a great option.
Yeah, you found that really good, didn't you?
Yeah, because it was important for me. I was struggling with actually eating food, and as you know, and I ended up having to have a dilation done to stretch my esophagus.
Yeah.
So for me, coffee sort of became my go-to meal. I knew a cup of coffee could sort of fill me up, and
it's not the best thing, is it? Like,
no,
to live off it.
No, it's not.
It's not.
And it's not sustainable over a period of time. I lost a lot of muscle mass.
Yeah.
I looked terrible. My skin was awful. You know, there was just so much going on. So I really needed that dilation done so that I could get onto a normal sort of diet. But I actually had a dietitian, and it was when I was in hospital once, and she was only young, so probably had learned a little bit more, you know, through uni and that. But she suggested that I just add skim milk powder to my coffees, to whatever I was drinking, because it would fortify it.
And that helped you.
Give me that protein kick that I really needed. And that helped so much. Like just my mental health.
Yeah.
Because when we're not eating and we've got all these things going on, it affects our whole body, you know, and our mental health suffers. So I think that is something that's really important.
We keep looking down here when we're not really that weird. We keep looking down here because we've got a few different things here that we've both used at different times in order to, you know, help things along. Now, I was recommended by my dietitian and by my surgeon to have a VLCD or a VLED every day for always, just to help. So I've had gastric bypass. That's what was recommended to me. OptiFast, OptiSlim, Feel Good, Formulite, la la la.
Do you think with the
whatever
type of surgery that he did for you, he knew from experience that, you know, you wouldn't be able to eat enough after surgery?
I would say so.
It's like, just letting you know now, you're probably going to need a VLCD.
Well, it was hot. It was hot off the heels of the "you will need vitamins for life" talk. So it was "you will need vitamins for life," and I recommend that you have a VLCD every day, just to include it to help with your protein. So I would say
that's something that's really important to remember, isn't it? You know, the vitamins, that there are some supplements that are going to be part of our life, forever. And you know, we have to consider that. We have to budget that into our shopping.
I mean, it's not for every, like, I know not everybody is told that. I know not everybody is given that advice.
I know there are times when I would get sort of offended at what a medical professional would say. And I think now I've become so conditioned to everything always just being blamed on me, blamed on my lifestyle, that I automatically
was offended.
But like, they could have said, "Oh, you know, you've lost 2 kilos," and I would have been offended over that because I don't think I've done good enough.
Oh, look, Damo, I absolutely agree. I was definitely in a state in myself mentally then where I was highly offendable, I guess. I I just spent so long, so many years feeling like an absolute failure. Every time I walked into a doctor's office, my weight got mentioned. So I just decided, you know what, whatever they say, I will protect myself. And yeah, so that's how I was. And in the liquid phase, I found that the suggestions probably weren't overly like they weren't overly interesting to me, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the easiest way to put it. Like, it's such a short period of time, but it feels like it drags on and on forever.
And to be fair, when you've got someone sitting there who's probably never had a weight issue
or had to be on shakes for an
life,
extended period of time,
and they're saying, well, just do this, you're going, motherfucker, if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't have had 80% of my stomach just cut out.
But we just have to get through that healing phase. So Damo, in his hand, his hot little hands right now, has a very familiar friend for many of us,
Optifast.
old mate Optifast. I use those on pre-op. That's pretty much all that was recommended, back in those days.
Something important, I think, to look for if we're looking at shakes and these sorts of things is, well, this one has VLCD, a big one is VLED.
ED
is what they're sort of changing it all to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's because of the amount of calories in it, the sugar, all the content of it. I've actually tried some, and I've gone, gee, that's nice. And then I've looked at the
carbs,
at the carb level and the sugar, and it's like, that's why it's so nice. And it's not actually even a VLCD or VLED. So just because it's coming in a packet, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be suitable.
Yeah.
And that's something to talk to the dietitian.
Yeah.
In your pre-op and post-op stages is, what do they
recommend, and why are they recommending it?
Yeah.
Why are they recommending it for you?
Yeah. I need to know why someone's telling me to do something.
Yeah, I'm the
I
same.
Just go, no, they're just whatever.
Knowing why is really, really helpful, and that way I can accept the fact that I need to do something a certain way. So I was recommended Optifast.
These are good because they're gluten-free as well.
Yes. And for me, obviously, being celiac, that is important.
Yes.
So Optifast or a VLED, VLCD shake, I had to make them really thin.
Yeah.
And I really I actually did struggle to have VLCD, VLED after my surgery in that initial period. I really did find it difficult just to swallow them. So it helps to water them down a bit more.
Yeah, because I found for me, it wasn't even when it hit my stomach, it was when it went in my mouth.
Yeah. When anything went in my mouth, right?
And it was just like, oh my God, this is coming up. So, it actually triggered that gag reflex.
Yes.
So, yeah. It's important though. Some people love getting the vanilla one and they add coffee to it, or there is a mocha one. There's all sorts of different flavors that I lived off these ones actually, which is the lemon cream dessert. That was my lifesaver.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to have that during liquids though.
No,
you would have had to wait. Was that puree?
Yeah. Yeah, and my pre-op.
I mean, I don't know. Can you water them down?
Probably can. Or if you just don't let them.
That would be something to ask your dietitian.
Ask the dietitian.
This is just us wondering. We don't know.
Maybe you know.
Maybe
let us know.
Let us know if you've tried. We would like to know that. There's other brands as well. There's OptiSlim, and they have a lot of the VLCD, VLED brands also have soups and things. Now, obviously I can't speak from experience because a lot of these things do contain gluten. So I'm not sure if this one does or doesn't. I haven't had it, but I get a little bit jumpy when it comes to potentially trying anything, because if I get gluten, they get really sick.
Yeah.
But
so that's de-slim, and that's a pumpkin, lentil, and sweet potato.
it sounds amazing.
May contain gluten.
May contain gluten. So obviously, yeah, this one's a no for me, but I reckon that you could blend that up.
Yeah. And that was one of the reasons I sort of grabbed that. Was I think being already cooked and pre-made, I think it would blend really easy to get that liquid consistency that we need.
And also, let's face it, even though we often seem to gloss over the fact that weight loss surgery is actually major surgery, and you don't necessarily have heaps of energy when you come home from hospital. Sometimes you're just tired for a little bit. So not going into like panic planning and stockpiling for the winter, but just having a few things like that are pre-made can really be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
How much liquid? See, I know exactly how much liquid I had each week. I was on my liquid phase, and it was 10 liters. That's how much I had.
You're clever.
That's exactly how much I had for each week. It was.
Well, see, I ended up on drips because I was so dehydrated. So I was only
not
able
enough
to take, not enough, and that was really dangerous. Now, the surgeons and the teams know so much more that if you are feeling like that, you need to contact them, reach out to them. I thankfully had a GP at the time who would just say, Damo, come in, I'll put you on a bag of fluids, and we can do that every day if that's what you need. So I had that support from a great GP. So it's good to have that contact and maintain that contact with your whole team.
Yeah, if you're worried, if you're concerned, if you're feeling dehydrated, if you're lightheaded, if you're any of those things, if you're feeling dry, like if you've got a dry mouth, like just make sure that you're aware of the signs of dehydration, just things to look out for. You don't need to panic, but just things to look out for so that you're aware and you're keeping looking after yourself. Because during that recovery time, particularly the first week, once you go home, I found that I was quite frightened because I was unsure of what was normal. Like, it's a completely new thing. Is this normal? Is this not normal? And reaching out and asking people that know is really, really important. So, having that number in your phone so that you can call your surgeon's rooms, call your dietitian's rooms, is a good thing to do.
Yeah. And I mean, even at a stretch, you call the 1-3 health.
Yeah, that's right.
Hotline, usually they'll say, if you're worried, go to emergency.
Yep.
And that's what we recommend.
Yeah,
if you are worried, head up to emergency.
Now, also, other things that have come out since I've had surgery, and look, they did exist back then, but not, I didn't particularly use them during my recovery, is protein waters and things. But I know most people that I know, family members and things that have had surgery, have used, these protein waters. There's the Feel Good brand. I know Muscle Nation do protein water as well.
There's even Bodhi's.
Yeah, there's Bodhi's.
Like that.
There's all sorts of different protein water brands around. I actually did use Bodhi's a little bit, but I was using the 30 milligram of protein in a bottle one, and I found it quite strong. So I was actually living on in my liquid phase. I lived on not just coffee. I had coffee and tea. I had broth. I also was very, very keen on the BSC pre-made, I think it's double chocolate milk.
Oh, yeah.
At Coles. And I really, really liked that.
And that's great because you can just have one sort of in your bag.
Yeah. I went a little bit like with lactose when I was about 2.5 weeks post-op. So I kind of went off it for a little while then. But during those initial 2 weeks, I really did like that, and it was good. And it's 30 milligrams of protein. I think it's a 600 ml bottle. Anyway, that was my favorite one. That was my favorite thing to have.
There's also different just protein powders, like this one's a tasteless collagen. Yeah, there's all sorts of brands. There's the Feel Good. There's the other one that's in the blue bottle, Pepti Pro. They're all fantastic, and they're really good to add to something like one of your soups.
Yeah.
Because we can only have such a small amount after surgery. It really helps to increase that protein level, which pretty much all the dietitians and doctors say we need to have increased protein so that we don't lose our muscle mass. And it helps with weight loss, helps with feeling full, because for some of us, we do still get that hunger. So we need to be looking after ourselves.
One thing that I will say that was a real key for me is I had a little measuring cup, a little one, and I think it held about 30 mils. And I used to have one of those every 15 minutes.
That's a great idea.
It was just a little cup. Just make sure that I would have that every 15 minutes, and it felt like I was constantly sipping.
Could line up the shot glasses.
And I was constantly sipping. But that was fine.
At least you're hydrated.
It kept me hydrated. And it seemed to really work. I did have to work on the whole water thing, and I still do struggle with that. It's just one of those things that I struggle with. But making sure that you're regularly having those little bits of fluid really helps set an alarm in your phone. That's another little tip, is to just set little alarms to remind you to have those sips of water. That way you will get through whatever it is that your dietitian or doctor has recommended. Some want us having, 1.2 litres a day, some want us having 1.5, whatever it might be. But if you just break that up into little manageable amounts, then it feels a whole lot easier than looking at the bottle at the end of the day going, how the fuck am I going to drink you?
Yeah. That's
not a good place to be.
Especially for me, after I had surgery, like pre-op, I would drink 2-3 litres of water a day easily. After surgery, it sat really heavy for me, and it made me feel really yuck. And that was hard, because I'd gone from someone who loved water to not being able to drink it. And one day someone said to me, and this is a long time ago, so there weren't a whole lot of options, but someone said, try Fiji, the brand water. Fiji water. And I tried that and I was like, wow. And it's just because it has a different pH level. But now there's a number of brands that Aqualove
is
really good.
Is my favorite one. Again, that is from Coles, and I loved it and used it right through my recovery phase. And even now, if I'm out and about, I will still run into Coles and buy a bottle of it, because I still really, really like it. It just always hits right.
And so that's important. We need to do things that make it easier for us. It's part of that self-care. And if it's something that we have to have, it should be important, and it should be a priority for us. And we shouldn't feel bad about having to buy a bottle of water if that's what it's going to take. I know some people have those filters on their taps, and that helps them. So there's so many options that we can have. We actually have bottled water and a water dispenser in our house, because everyone prefers it, and I'd rather have the whole family happy to drink water than always arguing. There's also products like Vital Zing, and they have flavored drops.
Water drops to go in water,
which they're great, because I find that you can add however many drops you want, so it's not ridiculously sweet.
Yeah. Cordial, like diet cordials and things, Diet Right isn't a well, I don't know if it's just in Australia, but that's kind of the big one in Australia is Diet Right.
Yeah.
And I did use that during my recovery phase. I did find it quite sweet, so I didn't have to use very much of it at all. But yeah, just doing those things that will make the liquid phase easier for you is a bonus.
Yeah. And trying some of them before you have surgery so that you know what you have a bit of an idea of what to expect.
I mean, your taste might change, but then again, they might not. Like your whole personality certainly doesn't change. So generally speaking, at least some of the flavors that we like pre-op kind of follow along with us post-op, which is good. That's nice. It's comforting.
Yes.
to know that not everything changes.
It's such a big thing to go through that, you know, it's good to have some of those things that are still familiar to us afterwards.
It is.
The other thing that I just wanted to mention was these fruit powders, and they're Pure Botany Purveyor, and it's just a freeze-dried fruit.
Yeah, and you can chuck them into smoothies. I found smoothies were problematic for me during the first week of liquids, but by the second, I was getting to be a little bit better as long as it was really watered down. So you could absolutely use something like that. Yeah.
Hope you got something out of this this today. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, me too. It's just fun just chatting away to you guys. I hope that you did enjoy it. Yeah. And if there's anything that you'd like to ask us, any questions that you have about the way that we did our pre-ops and our post-op, you know, phases, just let us know. Just reach out. We would absolutely love to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a great week and stay safe.